Hello, my friend. Tonight, we're spending time in a medieval dungeon, a low, damp chamber where daylight never comes and the walls sweat with cold. Shackles hang from the stone, and the air smells like old iron and something faintly rotting. Maybe quiet stories like this help you feel a little more at ease. If they do, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it truly brings you peace. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always calming to know we're all here, quietly together. Now, dim the lights, make yourself comfortable, and let's drift back, slowly, into a medieval dungeon. Your first breath is shallow. It catches in your throat, tasting of damp stone and something older, something sour and slow, like mould crawling through cloth. The air is cold but still, and your skin is stuck to the floor in places where sweat or blood has dried, sealing you to the stone like wax. It takes a moment for your eyes to confirm what your body already knows. There is no light, no torch, no window, not even a crack of something distant. Just blackness, full and absolute. You lie there for a while, unsure if you're awake or dreaming or somewhere in between. Then your fingers twitch, and pain rises like smoke from your spine, wrapping around your limbs with the slow certainty of a rope pulling tight. You try to sit up. Your shoulders protest first, then your hips, then your knees, and then something in your side gives a sharp twisting throb that makes you freeze in place. You breathe through clenched teeth. There's straw under you, or what used to be straw, now flattened into a foul-smelling mat that holds every stench it's ever absorbed. You can't remember how you got here, or when. You don't know if it's morning or night, or whether such things still matter. You only know that you're lying in a small space, the stone beneath you sweating with cold, and that when you shift your weight, the chain on your ankle shifts too, rasping softly across the floor. The sound seems enormous. You listen, nothing answers, not yet. You're not alone. You can't see them, but you feel them. The slow drag of another chain. A cough, dry then wet. A whisper maybe, or just breath through broken teeth. Your skin tightens with the sense of being watched, not out of malice, but out of shared despair. Others lie in this dark with you, close enough to hear, maybe to smell, but not to touch, or at least not without effort. You don't speak, no one does. Words seem pointless in this place, where time has dissolved and only the sensations remain. The cold in your bones, the dull ache in your jaw, the sticky dampness between your fingers, where you must have bled. You close your eyes, though it changes nothing. The dark stays the same, heavy, warm, and endless. You begin to notice details, the way your wrists sting where the manacles chafed you in sleep, the ridge of old bruises along your ribs, a shallow cut near your collarbone, crusted over. Your stomach clenches, but it's not hunger alone. It's fear, confusion, and something older than either, a kind of primal alertness your body has begun to adopt into place of memory. You hear water dripping somewhere, again and again, irregular but constant. The only way to count anything, the only movement in this sealed world. You try to trace the walls in your mind, how far, how high, how deep, but it all feels the same. Just cold breath, rotting straw, rusted iron, and the distant muffled suggestion of others who are also trying and failing to remember how long they've been here. It settles on you before you fully wake. Not a smell, but a presence. Thick and wet, it fills your nose and mouth as if trying to crawl inside. You can taste it even when you close your lips. A sour, fermented weight that coats the tongue and lingers. It's in the back of your throat, clinging there, like mould on bread. Your body recoils instinctively, curling away from the floor, from the filth beneath and the air above, but there's nowhere else to go. The stench is everywhere. It rises from the straw, from the walls, from you. You gag once, then again, but nothing comes, your stomach is too empty. Your only reward is more of the same taste, more of the same rot. It's not something you breathe in, it's something you wear. You try to find the source, but your senses betray you. One moment, it seems to come from the bucket in the corner, if it's a bucket. Another, from the wet patches near the walls, dark and foul-smelling, in a way that suggests things have soaked there for days, weeks, maybe longer. Somewhere to your left, something squelches softly when someone shifts. The odour shifts with them, curling toward you like smoke. You turn your head away, but there is no relief. Your skin begins to itch, not from contact, but from the idea that something in this smell is alive. It's not the kind of stink you encounter and then forget. It's the kind that settles into your clothes, your hair, your lungs, the kind that rewrites what you think of as clean, until even your own body feels like part of the rot. Your throat burns. Breathing has become an act of surrender. You try shallow inhales through your mouth, but it makes things worse. The taste becomes stronger, as if it's somehow thicker than the air itself. You try pinching your nose, but your hands are too weak, your wrists too bruised. The manacles clink softly as you move, a reminder that you're still part of the place that stinks this badly. You want to scream, to press your face into anything else, but there's nothing else. Just stone, straw, metal, and decay. The smell is so constant, so overwhelming, that your mind begins to work around it, not accepting, not forgetting, but dulling itself to it. And even that dullness comes with guilt, as if your body is betraying you by learning how to survive this. Over time, it becomes more than one smell. There are layers to it, like sediment. Beneath the sharpness of waste and unwashed bodies, there's the metallic sting of dried blood, the heavy sweetness of rot, and something faintly medicinal, like mould in a closed jar. There's the breath of people who've given up, the stink of fear sweat that never dries, the chemical tang of urine steeped in stone, and deeper still, the ghost of meat that once was flesh, not cooked, not fresh, just there. All of it woven together into one thick, sour heat that has no direction, no wind to move it, no mercy to dilute it. You wonder if the guards smell it when they open the door. You wonder if they've stopped noticing, or worse, if they enjoy it. The first impulse is simple, to sit up. Not to escape, not to fight, just to shift your body off the stone and relieve the ache that's settled into every limb. But your legs don't answer. They tingle with a cold, pulsing numbness that borders on pain. You try again, sending the thought down your spine like a quiet command, and this time your foot twitches. The chain around your ankle responds first. A sharp tug, a dry scrape across the floor, and then the familiar pinch of iron biting into soft skin. It's enough to stop you. You pause, half breath caught in your throat, waiting for the sting to subside. It doesn't. The cuffs are too tight. They've been tight for too long. Your skin has swelled around them, and now each movement is a contest between metal and flesh. You shift again, slower now, trying to find a position where your back isn't pressed against damp stone. It's like peeling yourself from a cold slab. The fabric on your shoulders tears a little, if it's even fabric anymore, and underneath it, raw skin protests. Your lower back sticks to something that squishes and gives under your weight. You don't look. You can't see anyway. The muscles in your thighs are stiff as boards, and when you finally manage to drag one leg beneath you, a violent cramp coils around your calf like a snake. Your jaw tightens. You don't cry out. There's no point. Crying won't make your limbs move any faster, and it might invite something worse. So you sit there in a crooked half-rise, one hand behind you, one leg curled beneath you, body twitching like something half-dead, and trying not to be noticed. Your wrists are next. That's harder. The manacles have no give, and you can feel where the iron has rubbed your skin raw in your sleep, if it was sleep. Every twitch of your fingers sends a warning through your forearms, nerves lit up like nerves under fire. You try to curl your fingers and fail. They spasm instead, useless claws in the dark. You breathe, slow and deep, trying to bring the pain down to something manageable. You count 5 breaths, then 10. Eventually, you shift your weight again, trying to lean forward, but the chain catches. Not the one on your ankle. This time, it's your neck. You didn't even realise there was a collar until now, but when you lean forward too far, it pulls you back with a sharp jerk. You fall onto your side, cheek pressed to the wet stone, heartbeats suddenly louder than anything else in the room. You lie still. Your ribs complain, bruises flaring to life, like old coals stirred awake. One arm is twisted beneath you, and the other is stretched out and trembling. It takes minutes, real, dragging minutes, to find a position that lets you breathe again. Your skin sticks to everything, to the wall, to the floor, to itself. Every patch of exposed flesh feels damp, rubbed raw or beginning to fester. You wonder how long you've been here. You wonder how long people usually last before their own body turns against them. You try to stretch your legs again, just a little, and when one knee finally straightens with a sharp crack, you think you might vomit. But there's nothing in your stomach to offer, and even if there were, there's nowhere else for it to go. So you swallow it down, press your back to the wall, and sit in silence. Not because you're ready, just because there's nothing else you can do. You hear it first, a low wet groan that seems to come from the corner, but echoes in a way that makes direction meaningless. It rises, catches, then dissolves into a dry rattle. For a moment, you freeze, unsure if it came from your own throat, if your body has begun betraying you without your knowing. But then another sound follows. A breath, not yours, laboured and irregular, like someone trying to breathe through water or blood. Then a second breath, shorter, sharper, a quiet scrape, like fingernails on stone. Then a sound that might be chewing or teeth grinding or something in between. You stay very still. The darkness around you hasn't changed, but now it feels filled with others. Not figures you can see, but weights in the air, each one heavy and wrong in its own way. Someone coughs, a long tearing cough that ends in a sharp inhale, and something wet hitting the ground. It's close, too close. You inch your foot backward, the chain rasping in protest, and the sound draws a response, not from the cougher, but from somewhere further off. A voice, a whisper. Too soft to understand, but steady, like a chant. It doesn't sound sane. You feel your own breath tightening. In the next pause you can hear them all. The ones who stir, the ones who twitch, the ones who mutter or moan or sigh. And then there are the ones who don't. There's a shape near the wall, low and still, and you begin to wonder if it's asleep or dead, or something in between. You can't tell. No one cries, no one speaks your name. You're not sure anyone remembers names in a place like this. The worst sound might be the one that repeats, the slow clink of someone rocking forward and back, just enough for their chains to shift, over and over, a rhythm without purpose, or maybe there is a purpose, and that's worse. You can't help but listen. With no sight to distract you, your ears become your only lifeline, and your only torment. You hear someone gnashing their teeth softly, as though chewing on their own tongue. You hear a slow scratch like someone tracing a nail into the wall. You hear the irregular wheeze of a breath that's too shallow, too fast, and you wonder how long it's been like that. You try to measure how many people are in the room, how far apart they are, who is closest, but the sounds shift and twist in the blackness, bending around your ears in ways that make no sense. The dungeon plays tricks with its echoes, or maybe your mind does. Then comes silence, not full, not pure, but sharp, a break in the rhythm. The scratch stops, the wheeze vanishes, the grinding of teeth fades, no more groaning. The chanting halts mid-word. Even the cougher goes quiet. It's not peace, it's something colder, as if the room is listening to you now, waiting to see what you'll do. You hold your breath without meaning to, your heart hammering loud enough to feel like sound. You strain your ears for anything, even the rats, but there's nothing. Just the wet weight of air, the press of stone, and the sudden realization that you don't know who these people are, how long they've been here, or what's left of them. You only know that they're close. Some of them still alive, some of them not, and for the first time, you're no longer sure which is worse. There is no morning here. No sky to pale, no bird call, no gentle warmth creeping in through cracks. You don't open your eyes to sunlight, only to the same thick dark that pressed on your face when you fell asleep, or passed out, or simply closed your eyes out of exhaustion. Time doesn't divide itself neatly anymore. There is no line between night and day, no cue from the world to signal that something new has begun. Your body tries to maintain the rhythm it remembers, but it's breaking down. Sleep doesn't refresh, waking doesn't orient. Each moment blurs into the next, indistinguishable, except by pain, thirst, and the need to shift your weight before your skin opens from stillness. What you learn to listen for are the sounds, the tiny changes, the dripping, constant, but not always the same. When the pitch shifts slightly, it tells you that water is collecting somewhere new. A puddle growing near the centre of the floor maybe, or near someone else's body. The temperature of the air changes too, just barely. A shift in the depth of the chill. You start to recognise a faint movement in the stale currents, as if someone opened a door far above. That's how you know it's morning, or something like it. There are no bells, no voices calling out. But sometimes, when it's been long enough, you hear the dull thump of boots on wood, filtered through stone and rot. That's the closest you get to sunrise. The footsteps are slow, not urgent. The kind of pace that suggests routine, not purpose. They cross above your head, then stop, then return, sometimes twice. You can't tell if they're coming for someone, or just patrolling the upper hallways. But every shuffle of leather and creak of board reminds you that the world still exists somewhere outside this pit. You wonder if the guard is tired, if he stretches in the morning the way you used to, if he eats something warm, if he jokes with others or just watches the door until it's time to go home. That guard, whoever he is, becomes your only clock. When you hear him, you know a cycle has passed. When you don't, you wonder if you've slipped out of time completely. But the worst part isn't the uncertainty, it's the sameness. You don't mark time by events anymore, only by sensation. Pain sharpens, dulls, returns. Hunger claws and fades and claws again. Sometimes you sleep, but only because your body demands it. And when you wake, it's not to a beginning, it's to more of the same. You find yourself craving things you used to ignore. The sound of wind in leaves, the scent of morning bread, the feel of sunlight on skin that isn't filthy or bruised. But none of that comes here. Here the days have no shape, no arc, no closure, only a slow return to the same position, the same stink, the same airless dark. Morning never comes, and eventually you stop expecting it. It starts with a light patter, soft, deliberate, unmistakable, not water, not human. Tiny claws clicking against the stone, in irregular rhythms, quick and bold. At first the sound seems distant, coming from the edge of the cell, or even just outside it. But then it multiplies, echoing in strange angles until you can't tell how many there are or where they're headed. You hold your breath, listening. The air is still, but the floor is alive. They move without hesitation, without fear. One scurries past your ankle, brushing your skin with a tail that's colder than you expect. You flinch, but not too sharply. Sudden movement attracts attention. And not just from them. These rats know you're here. They just don't care. You try to stay still, but your skin crawls with every noise. They scratch at the corners, squeeze through unseen cracks, and skitter across bodies, yours, theirs, someone else's. You hear a faint squeak, not of fear, but communication. They're talking to each other, perhaps even coordinating. These aren't timid barn rats fleeing at the sight of boots. These are dungeon rats, hardened, clever, used to the dark. They know where to find warmth, where to find softness, where to find what's left. You feel one climb onto your thigh, testing your stillness. Its weight is nothing, but the implication is heavy. You twitch, and it hops off with a soft thud, undeterred. There are more behind it. You sense them, waiting their turn. Someone else in the cell moans, not from pain, but from recognition. A weak, tired voice trying to shoo them away. Barely more than a breath. It doesn't work. The rats don't fear the living, and they have no reverence for the dead. If anything, they prefer them. You hear the soft rustle of fur through straw, the chew of sharp teeth working through cloth or something softer. The sound isn't loud, but it cuts deeper than a scream. You imagine what they're finding. Fingers, ears, swollen flesh no longer defended. You pull your legs in, but the chain stops you short, forcing your feet to stay just where they were. You feel one nose at your heel, as if checking whether you're worth the trouble yet. Minutes pass, or maybe hours. There is no end to them. The rats move freely now, darting and pausing, sometimes vanishing, only to return moments later. You learn to tell their steps from one another. The larger ones move more slowly, more confidently, dragging their bodies in a way that sounds almost human in the dark. The small ones flit around faster, like shadows without form. You think about trying to crush one, if only to remind yourself you're not completely helpless. But your hands won't work, and you're not even sure you could catch one if you tried. Besides, what would it change? Kill one, and two more take its place. The dungeon is theirs. They've lived here longer than you, and unless something changes, they'll outlive you too. It builds slowly, not as a sharp stab, but as something deeper, a hollow, curling tightness that wraps around your spine and presses inward from all sides. It's not the first time you felt it here. But now, after whatever stretch of time has passed without food, it returns with new clarity, almost like a memory brought back by the body instead of the mind. Your stomach clenches without warning, a dry, twisting motion that makes you wince. There's nothing inside it to work with, but that doesn't stop it from trying. It folds in on itself again and again, each cramp reminding you of what you've lost. Not just food, but the certainty of it, the small comforts of routine. Even the worst scraps you once turned your nose up at would feel like a feast now. You press your back harder against the wall, trying to ground yourself against the ache. But it follows. Hunger isn't just a feeling anymore. It's posture, tension, weight. It lives between your ribs, under your jaw, in the joints of your fingers. It's like having another spine, crooked and raw, running parallel to your own. You don't remember the last time they fed you. There might have been a crust of bread, or a smear of something in a bowl that stank worse than the bucket beside it. But that was before this most recent stretch, before the hours or days of nothing. You try to swallow, and even that feels wrong. Your mouth is dry, your tongue swollen and slow. Even the act of thinking about food brings a new level of discomfort, as if the body is punishing you for remembering what it doesn't have. Somewhere nearby, someone groans, a soft, broken sound that might come from the same place your own voice would if you let it. Maybe they're feeling it too. Hunger is a quiet thing, but it spreads, not just inside your body, but across the room, an invisible tide of need and weakness, and wanting. You hear someone shift, chains dragging slightly. Maybe they're dreaming of bread. Maybe they're gnawing on something they've found. You try not to think about what that might be. The straw? A dead rat? Something worse? The walls are too close, the dark too deep, and your thoughts begin to turn against you, offering images you never would have imagined before. You picture rotten meat and lick your cracked lips. You picture warm soup and feel your hands tremble. There's a sound near the wall, a soft clink, and then a wet scrape. Someone has a bowl. Maybe it was slid in while you were asleep. Maybe they hid it. Maybe it's empty. But the sound alone makes your stomach twist so hard you feel dizzy. You try to crawl toward it, but the chain holds fast. You reach out into the dark, but there's only stone and straw and cold, wet air. A rat brushes past your hand, and you don't even flinch this time. You're too tired, too hollow. You let your arm fall back against your body and rest your head on your shoulder. The cramps return, this time sharper. Your body's no longer asking, it's insisting. It doesn't matter what your mind can endure. The flesh has its own limits. And this morning, or whatever passes for it, your body remembers it cannot wait forever. It starts without warning, a sudden guttural explosion that cuts through the dark like a blade. Not a shout, not a cry for help, but a scream pulled straight from the chest, raw and jagged and full of something deeper than pain. It's the kind of sound that makes your bones react before your mind can. You flinch, every muscle tensing, and for a moment the dungeon seems to hold its breath. The scream keeps going, rising and breaking and rising again, echoing against stone in a way that makes it hard to tell where it's coming from. Above you, perhaps, or behind one of the thicker walls. It doesn't matter. It's close enough that the sound gets inside your teeth and rattles there like metal on metal. You brace yourself for more, but the scream ends abruptly. Not with a fade, but with a sudden strangled stop, like something forced it closed. The silence that follows is worse than the sound. It's not a return to quiet, but a vacuum, a hole in the air where noise should be. You swallow, or try to, but your throat is dry and your heart won't slow. Around you, the others shift. Chains rustle, someone coughs, someone else murmurs something low and quick, as if trying to ward off the memory of what they just heard. You keep still. You don't speak. You let the screams settle into the stone and disappear, not because it's gone, but because it's easier that way. If you think about it too long, you'll start imagining what caused it. And in a place like this, imagination is not your friend. You find yourself grateful, not in any moral or spiritual way, just the simple, animal relief of knowing that it wasn't you, that this time the boots didn't stop at your door, that the light didn't stab into your cell, that the hands didn't drag you into a hallway, or up a stair, or down into something worse. You sit there in the dark, shaking and quiet, and remind yourself you are still here, still on the floor, still whole, or close enough. Someone else is not. That's all that matters. But then the fear creeps back in, soft and sure. Because if it wasn't you today, that doesn't mean it won't be you tomorrow, or in an hour, or whenever the guards get bored again. You wonder who it was? You try not to, but your mind goes there anyway. Was it the one who used to chant at night? Was it the coughing one? Was it someone new, someone you hadn't heard yet, because they hadn't been made to scream before? You think about their mouth, open wide, about their limbs jerking against restraints, about what it takes to make a person howl like that. You picture it, not because you want to, but because you have no choice. The dungeon teaches you things. It teaches you the shape of silence after violence. It teaches you what pain sounds like when it's pure. And it teaches you that today, mercy means being left alone in the dark. Cold, hungry, filthy, but whole. For now. It begins with a sound you've learned to hate, the long dry screech of metal dragged across stone, a bolt, a bar, a key twisting in rust. Each part is slower than it needs to be, as if drawn out deliberately, like a warning or a ritual. You freeze, instinctively pulling in your limbs, shrinking against the wall even though you know it won't help. The others in the darkness do the same. You can hear their movements, their chains tightening, their breath catching. The sound continues, another latch, then a hinge groans open, and with it comes the light. You shut your eyes, but it stabs through your lids, pale and sickly, like winter sun on dirty snow. You don't look, you don't want to, but the light moves anyway, sweeping the cell in wide arcs, flattening shadows, pulling everything into sharp relief. They say nothing at first, just boots, 2 pairs, maybe 3. You can't tell if they're guards or something worse. They step into the cell like they own the air, the silence, the stench. You keep your head down, trying not to breathe too loudly, hoping they'll choose someone else. Sometimes they call a number, though you've long forgotten yours. Sometimes they say nothing at all, just pick a shape on the floor and drag it up by the arm or the collar. When the hand finally touches your shoulder, it's not rough, not yet, just firm. You feel the pressure, the command behind it, and you know there's no point resisting. You're too weak, too stiff, too tired, so you try to rise but your legs don't cooperate. You're halfway up when the hand becomes a fist, and then pain blooms across your ribs. They drag you, half standing, half collapsing, toward the open door. The light is worse now, not warm, not golden, just bright enough to make your eyes water and your skin recoil. It reveals nothing comforting, just more stone, more rust, more filth, The floor outside your cell is no cleaner than the one inside, but it feels alien, exposed. You don't know where they're taking you. Sometimes it's the questioning room, sometimes it's the pit, sometimes it's worse. The guards don't speak. One walks ahead, the other beside you, and the third, if he's there, stays behind to close the door. You hear it slam shut with a finality that turns your stomach. The bolt slides back into place, sealing the others in, or sealing you out. You don't know which is worse. Your feet scrape against the stone as you stumble forward. Your shoulder throbs where you were struck. Your eyes are still adjusting, making everything shimmer and warp at the edges. The air here is just as foul, but thinner, faster. It smells of oil and sweat and cold iron. You pass other doors, some open, some shut. From behind one, a voice cries out. Not a scream, not yet, just a protest, a plea. You ignore it. You focus on walking. You try not to fall again. The guard beside you keeps one hand near your neck, not touching, but close enough to remind you. You're not in control. You never were. The corridor twists, then narrows, then opens again. You recognize none of it. You only know that every step forward is a step away from what you feared, and a step closer to something else entirely. They bring you into a room that smells different from the cell, but no better. Less rot, more iron. The floor is wet, though, whether it's from water or blood or something in between, you can't tell. There's a table, though you won't be sitting at it. No chair for you. Just the ground, or sometimes a post to tie your arms behind, to keep you upright when your body no longer cooperates. The light here is brighter, a single flame above that flickers without warmth. Shadows stretch in long, broken shapes along the walls. You squint against it, tears rising unbidden from the sudden exposure. Across from you, behind the table, sits a man in a hood. Or maybe it's a woman. Maybe it's no one at all. The light hides more than it shows. You hear breathing, but it's not yours. Someone writes something on parchment, slowly, loudly. They ask your name. You give it or you don't. Either way, they write. They ask what you've done. You say nothing, or you say everything. And it doesn't matter. They're not looking for answers. They're looking for patterns, for rhythms, for the little stumbles in your voice, for fear, for silence, for resistance. One wrong word, one pause too long, and the next step becomes easier for them to justify. You try to speak slowly, but your mouth is dry and your tongue heavy. You hear yourself slurring, not from deception, just from weakness. One of them sighs. The sigh is louder than your words. It tells you this is going to take longer than they wanted. You try to make your voice clearer, but now your breath hitches and your ribs ache from the effort. You cough and blood rises to your tongue. They don't react. They begin again. A new question. A repeat of the first. You answer differently this time. Not because you're lying, but because you don't remember what you said before. That's enough. A chair scrapes, a footstep. Something cold touches your neck. A finger maybe, or the flat of a blade. You freeze. There's a pause, long and deliberate. Then they go back to writing. You realize you were being measured, tested for the way your skin responded. You failed. You ask what you're accused of. They ignore you. You ask where you are. They ignore you. You try not to plead, but your voice starts rising without permission. Another sound interrupts. Wood striking wood, sharp and controlled. You flinch, and this time they react, not with words, with a short laugh. Then silence again. You've given them enough for now. Eventually, the questions end. You're not told what comes next. The hooded figure stands and walks away, boots clicking against stone. You hear a door open, but no one comes to take you. You sit there, slumped and sweating, limbs cramping, mouth bleeding from where you bit it. You don't know if you passed or failed. You don't know if there was ever a test. Maybe this was just routine. Maybe they do this every few hours, just to remind themselves they can. You wonder how many more times you'll be brought here. How many more times you'll be asked questions you don't understand about a crime you don't remember, or didn't commit, or did, but not like this. You wonder how many more answers you have left, and then the door opens again, and the boots return, and it starts all over. They tie your wrists behind your back, tighter than necessary, and then raise them upward until your shoulders scream in protest. You try not to make a sound, but the noise that escapes your throat is something between a gasp and a growl. The rope creaks above you, wound around a beam or a hook you cannot see, and each pull lifts you off balance, your feet barely grazing the wet floor. Your joints strain in their sockets, your arms numb but burning, and your chest heaves with each uneven breath. You don't know where to put your weight. Every direction hurts. Someone behind you mutters a word, a number maybe, and then silence, then a splash. Then the first pour of water down your face. It hits you fast, cold, direct. You open your mouth without meaning to, and gag immediately, the stream forcing itself into your throat, your nose, your lungs. You cough, but the coughing only makes more room for it to enter. Your body fights, jerking against the rope, but it only makes the pain in your shoulders worse. You don't hear words, just the steady sound of water pouring, a rhythm that seems carefully measured, almost bored. Then a pause. You gasp, sucking in as much air as you can before the second pour begins. Somewhere behind you, someone is counting. Not loudly, not urgently, calm, distant. Someone else shifts, leather creaking. Another just watches. You can feel it. Their eyes on your body, on the way it twists and shudders, on the way you break apart one swallow at a time. It doesn't stop after one round, or two. It becomes a cycle. Pour, gag, count, gasp, again, again. Your body goes from fighting to begging to simply surviving. Your throat feels raw, your stomach bloated and tight with liquid you never chose to drink. You throw up at one point, or you think you do, but it's hard to tell the difference anymore. Everything burns. Your lungs burn, your sinuses burn, your eyes leak and sting, though whether it's water or tears, you no longer care. Your shoulders have gone beyond pain into a kind of paralysed throb that feels separate from the rest of you, like your arms belong to someone else now. The floor beneath your toes is slick, and you slip twice, each time yanked back upright by the rope. Eventually, it stops. Not because of mercy, but because something else calls their attention. You hang there, limp and soaked, your body heaving against the restraints, water and bile running down your chest. You hear footsteps move away. A door opens, voices, laughter, then quiet again. You're left alone, or maybe not. You're too dizzy to know. The rope stays tight. Your shoulders remain stretched. Time folds in on itself, and for a while, you drift in and out, caught between nausea and silence. No one tells you what you said. No one tells you if it mattered. And as your head slumps forward, water dripping from your hair to the floor, you realise you would say anything now. Anything at all, if it meant never feeling that again. And they know it. That's why they haven't untied you yet. They leave without a word. No questions, no verdict, no gesture to mark the end. The door shuts softly, almost gently, and the silence that follows feels unreal. You slump to the floor like something discarded, limbs trembling, breath coming in shallow bursts. Your wrists still burn from the rope. Your shoulders throb with a deep pulsing ache that spreads down your back like poison. Water drips from your face, your hair, your chest. You're soaked through and shivering, skin sticky with filth and bile. The floor is colder than before. Or maybe you're just more aware of it now. The way your skin presses against it, unable to resist. You try to curl in on yourself, but your muscles won't obey. They twitch and seize without rhythm, like a puppet with broken strings. Still, no one touches you. No one speaks. No one moves. It takes time for your breathing to slow. Every inhale feels like it scrapes against the inside of your ribs. You listen, half expecting another door to open, another pair of boots to approach, another hand to grab you by the hair or the collar. But there's nothing. Only silence. Not the distant screams of another prisoner, not the squeak of rats, not even the coughs you've grown used to in the dark. Just you and your breath. At first, it feels like relief. A moment to recover, to collect what little of yourself hasn't been broken or drowned. You stretch one leg slowly, feeling it shake beneath its own weight. You press your fingers against the stone and try to sit upright. The stillness around you welcomes it. The absence of pain, of noise, of pressure. A kindness you didn't expect. A space to breathe. But the longer it lasts, the more you feel it turning. The quiet isn't peaceful. It's watchful. You begin to hear your own body too clearly. Your heartbeat too fast. The hiss of your breath through swollen nostrils. The creak of joints rubbed raw. Every sound becomes magnified, grotesque. You try to calm yourself, but you don't know how. Without something external to brace against, a scream, a question, a chain being dragged, your thoughts spiral inward. You begin to wonder why they let you go so soon. If this was the punishment, or if this was just the beginning. If someone is watching, waiting, testing. You imagine eyes in the darkness measuring your silence. You imagine tools still warm from use, being cleaned and prepared again. The silence swells with possibilities. And then something shifts, not in the room but in your chest, a new kind of pain, subtle at first, almost easy to ignore. But it grows. Hunger, thirst, fear, all dull compared to this. It's the feeling of dread without form, an ache that spreads through your limbs like cold water soaking cloth. You realize you don't want to be alone anymore. You would rather the guards return. You would rather the questions, the rope, the water, anything to break the stillness pressing on you like a stone. The silence is not rest, it is exposure. It reminds you that the worst is never a scream or a wound. It's the waiting between them. The knowledge that pain isn't over, just postponed. And in this place, they never let you forget that. They don't bother with commands, no words, no warnings, just rough hands grabbing your arms, fingers digging into muscle and bone, lifting you not like a person, but like something broken. A sack, a bundle, a piece of waste to be relocated. Your legs don't respond, and they don't wait for them to. You're dragged across the floor, heels catching on uneven stone, toes scraping, back bumping over slick patches and sharp cracks. You try to help, to move even a little, to lift your weight, but your limbs betray you. Your shoulders flare with pain from earlier, and your wrists throb with every jolt. Your head lolls to the side, and for a moment you catch sight of another cell door. Shut, silent. Then the light disappears again. You're not sure if you passed through it, or if it passed through you. The corridor smells of sweat and rust and old air, thicker now that your body's moving through it again. The men don't speak to each other. There's no laughter, no muttered threats. They've done this before. You're not the first, you won't be the last. One of them spits low, not to the side but directly at you. The warm, wet slap hits your cheek and runs down your neck. You flinch, barely. The other doesn't react. That's the only conversation you'll get. A gesture of contempt, offered not in anger but in routine. You're not worth a kick. You're not worth a name. Just something to be disposed of properly. You try to lift your head, to look ahead, to see how far you are from where you came from. But your vision is blurred. The hallway stretches forever. Your shoulder slams into a wall as they turn the corner too quickly, and pain shoots down your side. You cry out, or you think you do. It's hard to tell if the sound escaped or stayed trapped behind your teeth. One of them grunts in response, more out of effort than attention. They keep dragging. Your clothing, what remains of it, catches on the stone, tears further, exposes skin to the cold. Your knees leave streaks of filth on the floor behind you. Your hair sticks to your face, wet with sweat, or maybe from the bucket earlier. Everything feels distant, like it's happening to someone else, but the pain keeps it grounded. The pain keeps it yours. And then finally, they stop. A door creaks open. Not the same one, but similar, familiar. You're tossed inside without ceremony. Your body hits the ground with a dull smack, hip first, then elbow, then jaw. You lie there for a moment, unsure whether to move or stay still. The door slams shut behind you, followed by the scrape of the bolt. The silence returns, not the silence of privacy, but the silence of being returned to the collective dark. The air is thicker here, warmer. Someone shifts nearby. A chain clinks. No one speaks. You're just another body now, back where you started. You try to breathe through the ache, through the shame, through the taste of someone else's spit drying on your skin. There's no triumph in returning, no relief, just the knowledge that something has ended and that something else will begin. You notice it even before your eyes adjust to the dark again. Something feels off. The air is different, thicker, closer. The rhythm of breath around you has changed. The weight of presence no longer spread the way it was. You try to sit up, your limbs still sluggish, your back aching from being dragged. But the shift in the cell is unmistakable. There was a body near the far wall last time. You remember its silence, the way it didn't move even when the rats came. That silence is gone now, replaced by something else. Not movement, but absence. A void where something once was. Or someone. You strain your ears. There's still breathing in the dark, but fewer now. Fewer patterns. And one of them is too close. Someone is lying near your feet. Closer than you remember anyone being. So close you can feel their warmth bleeding into the damp floor. Smell the rank sweat rising off their skin. You shift slowly, trying to create space, but there is none. The cell has shrunk, not in size, but in feel. When one body is removed and another drifts closer, the walls seem to press inward. You don't know who this person is. Maybe they were always here, just farther away. Maybe they were moved. Maybe they moved themselves. You feel the brush of a knee against your ankle and freeze. No reaction, no retreat. Whoever it is, they're either asleep or beyond caring. You whisper nothing. There's nothing to say. Words would only announce your position. In the far corner, something else has changed. The bucket is overturned. You can smell it. Its contents soaked into the straw, into the stone, into the bodies too weak to move away from it. The stench is sharper now, with an edge that burns your throat. You cover your nose with your arm, but it doesn't help. Everything smells like waste, like sickness, like death. Someone coughs, but it's not the familiar rhythm you've come to recognize. It's a new sound, raw and sharp, followed by a groan. You wonder if it's the same person who has moved closer to you. You wonder if the dead were dragged out while you were gone, or maybe not dragged, maybe just left to rot until limbs stiffened and the guards were forced to make space, not out of kindness, out of necessity. The silence that returns is not the same as before. It's crowded, tense. You can feel the weight of others' thoughts. Even if no one speaks, the cell feels less like a room and more like a box, stuffed too tightly with things that breathe and weep and stink. You don't dare lie flat. There's no room to stretch. You curl yourself into a tighter shape, one arm under your head, knees drawn to your chest. The person near you exhales loudly, not toward you, but not away either. The warmth of their breath brushes your neck. You shiver, not from cold this time, but from nearness. You don't want to know their name. You don't want to feel their skin. You just want space, but that's gone now. In this new arrangement, there's no privacy left. Only flesh and stone, too close to tell where one ends and the other begins. You try to sleep, not because you feel tired or you've been tired for so long that exhaustion has become the default, but because there's nothing else to do. No way to mark time, no place to look, no one to speak to, and nothing to hope for. So you close your eyes and try to let go. The floor beneath you is as unforgiving as ever. It's uneven stone pressing into your ribs, your hip, your shoulder. There's no position that doesn't hurt. You shift again and again, slowly, cautiously, trying to find a patch of straw that isn't soaked or sticky. But every movement seems to wake some new part of your body into aching. Your back is stiff, your limbs bruised, your skin open in more places than you can count. And through it all the cold seeps in, settling into your bones like a second skin. The air is no better. It clings to your face, thick and wet, full of breath that isn't yours. You try to breathe through your mouth, but the taste is worse than the smell, rot and rust and waste. Your stomach rolls again, empty but still responsive, and you swallow back the reflex. Nearby, someone groans in their sleep. Or maybe it's not sleep at all. A cough rattles from the far corner. Someone mutters something low and broken, words without structure, like a child's chant or a prayer meant only for the speaker. The noise doesn't stop. It rises and falls like the tide, whispers, murmurs, scraping chains, bodies shifting in the dark. You can't tune it out. It surrounds you, slips into your ears, makes a nest in your mind. You try covering your head with your arm, but it only makes the air warmer, more suffocating. You open your eyes again, but nothing changes. Darkness is still total, still absolute. It doesn't matter whether your eyes are open or closed, the black is the same. You count your breaths, try to focus on them, to let them lull you into something like sleep. But each one brings more scent, more sound, more thought. You think about what was done to you. You think about what might come next. You think about the body that used to lie near the back wall, the one that doesn't make sounds anymore. You wonder who will be next. Maybe it will be you, maybe someone else. You try to stop thinking, but the dark makes it impossible. It amplifies everything. Every doubt, every ache, every memory that manages to crawl back through the noise. Eventually, your body begins to betray you again. Your limbs twitch with tiny spasms. Your teeth clench and won't unclench. Your jaw aches. You try to rest your head on your arm, but it feels like lying on rope and bruises. You can't even pretend to be asleep. The floor is too hard. The noise is too close. The smell is too alive. You close your eyes again anyway, because it's the only thing left to do. You don't know if minutes pass or hours. Maybe none at all. Maybe sleep never comes here. Maybe it's just another thing they take from you. Like food, like warmth, like time. You lie there, breathing shallowly, waiting for nothing, thinking of nothing, and telling yourself that eventually your body will shut down. That it has to. Because if it doesn't, you'll be awake forever. And that might be worse. You lie there in the dark, curled against the wall, like something dropped and forgotten, and you realise you haven't heard your own voice in a long time. You're not sure how long. Time is a ruined concept here, bent and smeared across endless stretches of silence and pain. But the silence now feels different. Not empty, not still. Just too large, like a room with your mind bouncing around inside it, searching for something to hold on to. You move your lips slowly, just to feel that they still work. The skin there is dry, cracked. You take a breath through your mouth and let it go as a whisper. One word, one sound, your name, or what you think was your name. At first it comes out quiet and shapeless, more like an exhale than a word. You try again. This time, there's more form to it. You say it so softly that it disappears before it hits the air. It feels strange in your mouth. Familiar, but somehow distant. Like a word in a language you once spoke fluently, but haven't used in years. You repeat it, slower, trying to let it sit on your tongue, trying to measure whether it feels like it still belongs to you. But it doesn't quite fit anymore. It wobbles in your mind unanchored, sliding around like a memory you're not sure is yours. You say it a third time, this time with intention, and feel a flicker of something. Not identity exactly, but the outline of one. A shadow of self, and then it fades. You lie back, silent again, wondering whether you just imagined it, whether that name still matters. The truth is, you haven't been a person for a while. You've been a body, a collection of limbs and sounds and instincts, reacting to hunger, to cold, to pain. No one here has asked for your name. No one has spoken to you as if you were anything other than a shape to move, to break, to return. The others in the cell don't ask either. They don't care who you are, and you don't care who they are. Survival leaves no space for pleasantries. Even now, whispering into the dark, the sound feels more like a superstition than an affirmation. You say it again, softer this time, just to keep the shape of it alive. A name once meant history, family, place. Now it's just a word that might disappear for good if you stop repeating it. You begin to test other words, not aloud, but in your head. The name of the town you lived in, the names of people you once loved, the place where you worked. the food you liked. Most of them don't come. Some arrive slowly, half-formed, and then vanish. You chase them, but the dark swallows faster than memory can reach. Only your name lingers, and even it feels fragile now, like a thread fraying at the edges. You whisper it one more time. It sounds wrong, like you're borrowing it from someone else. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to listen to yourself, to see if any part of that word still feels like home. But there is no home here, only stone and rot and silence. Maybe the name doesn't matter anymore. Maybe you don't either. And still, you whisper it again. Because it's the only thing left you haven't yet lost. It starts as a tingling at the base of your neck, faint and persistent, like a breath you can't shake off. You reach up slowly, fingers stiff and clumsy, and scratch, but it does nothing. The itch travels downward, across your shoulder blades, into the crook of your arm. Then your wrists, raw from chains, throb as you shift, and a sharp sting flares up, cutting through the dull background of discomfort that never leaves. It isn't a single itch anymore. It's hundreds, like needles, like heat, like something crawling beneath the surface. You scratch again, harder this time, and feel something give, a scab maybe, or skin softened too long by moisture and rot. You pull your hand back, unsure whether you've opened something. It doesn't matter. The itch remains. The pain remains. Everything remains. You run your fingers across your ribs and feel welts, some old, some new. Some from the rope, others from the stone, others from nights spent curled in on yourself, like a dead insect. Your back is streaked with grime, the folds of your skin filled with sweat and dirt, and the black dust of whatever passes for air down here. You haven't been clean in days, maybe weeks. You don't know anymore. Your skin has taken on a strange texture, slick in places, cracked in others, always damp. The filth clings to you like a second layer, and no amount of rubbing will separate it. You try anyway. You press your palms against your chest and scrub downward, as if you can erase the feeling. All you succeed in doing is spreading the heat, irritating the places already bleeding. Somewhere beneath your rags, lice move freely. You feel them without seeing them, the tiny flicker of motion across your inner thigh, the sudden bite near your waist. You slap at them blindly, angrily, but it only fuels the burn. You're not the only one scratching. You hear it in the dark. Others shifting, scraping, muttering under their breath as their bodies revolt. One man groans, low and hoarse, as if the simple act of feeling his skin is too much now. You press your back to the wall and try not to move. Stillness doesn't help. The itch blooms across your scalp, behind your ears, under your arms. Your fingernails are dirty, jagged, cracked. They only dig new lines into your skin, new entry points for infection. You know it's getting worse. You feel the heat rising under the surface, a slow boil that has nothing to do with fever and everything to do with filth. At some point, you stop thinking of your skin as yours. It becomes something foreign, something imposed, a surface you have to endure rather than inhabit. You imagine peeling it off like cloth, leaving it behind on the floor so that your muscles can finally breathe. You picture what you'd look like without it, raw, clean, new. The fantasy is absurd, grotesque, but it lingers. Because right now, your skin isn't a boundary. It isn't protection. It's a trap. It holds the rot in, seals the stench to your bones, reminds you with every twitch and sting that you're still here, still alive, still infected with this place. And as you curl up tighter in the dark, trying not to scratch anymore, you realise it's not the rats or the guards, or even the hunger that's breaking you. It's the slow betrayal of your own body, piece by piece, from the outside in. It begins as a murmur, low and rhythmic, barely audible over the background sounds of breathing and the occasional rattle of chain. At first, you don't register it as anything unusual. People whisper in the dark sometimes, to themselves, to memories, to nothing. But this voice doesn't stop. It repeats the same phrase again and again, slurred and breathy, as though trying to cast a spell or call something back from a place far beyond reach. You turn your head slightly, following the sound to the far corner of the cell. You can't see him. No one ever sees much here, but you know where he is by the sound. His voice becomes louder, higher, more frantic. The words blur together, faster now, as if racing against something. You listen, but you don't understand. No one does. It's not a language, it's unravelling. Then he starts to laugh. Not softly, not lightly, but hard, sudden, sharp bursts that echo off the walls like something breaking. It cuts through the silence and grabs your spine. You tense instinctively, pulling your legs in, waiting for someone to stop him. But no one moves. No one says anything. He laughs again, then shouts, a string of nonsense that ends in a wheezing bark. You hear him crawl, or drag himself, or stumble toward the wall, and then a loud thud. His body hits stone with a force that makes the chains jump. Another thud follows. Then another, flesh on rock, over and over. He's slamming his head or his fists or both. The rhythm is violent and without purpose, like he's trying to knock his own thoughts out through his skull. Still, no one reacts. You glance toward the others, or where you think they are, but there's only stillness. They've heard it before. Maybe yesterday. Maybe last week. Maybe every night. Some shift slightly, pulling away from the sound. Others don't move at all. You realise this isn't a moment of crisis, it's routine. Just another part of the dungeon's rhythm. The man screams now, incoherent and ragged. His voice cracks, and he coughs between howls, choking on whatever rises from inside him. You wonder how long he's been here. You wonder what he looked like when he arrived. If he spoke clearly, if he asked questions, if he believed in anything. You wonder if you'll remember your own questions when it's your turn to break. Eventually, the noise dies down. The banging stops. The shouting gives way to whimpers, then to silence. You hear him breathing, slow, rough, exhausted. Maybe he's passed out. Maybe he's dead. No one checks. No one speaks. You stay curled in your place, skin crawling, stomach churning, throat tight from the aftershock of witnessing something so deeply human and so completely ignored. You feel no pity, just fear, not of him, he's finished now, but of what he represents. A warning written in bruises and spit. The mind is a fragile thing. In this place, it rots faster than the body. And when it goes, it doesn't go quietly. It drags itself out through your mouth, one word at a time, until everyone nearby knows exactly how it sounds. You hear the bolt slide open again. Not quickly, not urgently. Just the dry, dragging motion of rusted metal pulled aside for something routine. The door creaks open only enough to let in a narrow strip of light and a shape behind it. No one speaks, no one steps in. A hand appears, gloved and slow, carrying a wooden bucket that looks no different from the ones used in stables or alleyways. It's placed with a hollow thud near the far corner of the cell. Then the hand withdraws. The door creaks closed and the bolt returns with the same grinding finality. You hear nothing else, no instructions, no explanation, just the sound of your own breath and the slow collective awareness spreading through the room. The bucket is here again. No one rushes toward it. There's no point. The bucket doesn't promise anything. It might be half full of water. It might be nearly empty. It might contain something that used to be food, though it no longer resembles it. It always smells wrong, like metal and waste and something sour that's lived too long in the dark. But you look towards it anyway, knowing that eventually someone will crawl over and investigate. Sometimes it's used as a toilet. Sometimes it's where they leave your only drink for the day. Sometimes both. Once you found a crust of bread inside, soaked through with whatever else had been dumped there hours before. You ate it anyway. Everyone has. Pride doesn't last long in this place. Hygiene doesn't last. Meaning doesn't last. Only the bucket. Eventually, someone moves. You hear the soft drag of chains, the slow shuffle of a body too bruised to walk properly. Whoever reaches it first lifts the lid, if there is one, and exhales sharply. That sound alone tells you more than words could. The smell hits you next. drifting in waves. It's not just rot, it's layered. Human waste, spoiled water, traces of old food now indistinguishable from filth. You turn your head away, but it doesn't help. The stink fills the cell, crawls into your nose, and sits in your mouth. Someone retches in the corner. Someone else mutters something sharp and bitter under their breath. No one asks why, you all know. The bucket is all there is. Whether it helps or harms depends entirely on what the guards felt like that day. You consider crawling to it. You tell yourself there might be something inside worth using. A handful of liquid to wipe your face, to drink, to cool the burn on your wrist. But you don't move, not yet. You wait, like the others, to see what's left after the first few try. Maybe they'll pour out the worst of it. Maybe they'll leave a sip untouched at the bottom. Or maybe they'll take it all for themselves and leave you nothing but the stink. Either way, the bucket has become the cell's centre. Not a symbol, not a solution, just a fact, a presence. It arrives, it lingers, it fills, and it never ever leaves clean. The day it doesn't come will be worse, because in here, even that kind of filth counts as a resource, something to be shared, something to be fought over, something to remind you that the only thing lower than this bucket is you. It starts as a whisper beneath the other noises, the shuffling, the coughing, the slow drag of chains. At first you think it's someone muttering to themselves again, another prisoner gone soft at the edges, repeating a name or a number until it fades into breath. But this voice carries rhythm, pattern, a soft cadence that rises and falls in steady waves. The tone is careful, slow, measured like someone reciting lines too sacred to rush. You listen harder, your ear tuned now to something different, something coming from beyond your own cell. The voice doesn't echo like screams or footsteps. It creeps instead, leaking through the walls like mould through damp wood. You don't hear the words at first, just the shape of them, the ritual in their sound. Then it becomes clear. It's a prayer, it's Latin, or something close to it, words meant for altars now falling into rot. The speaker is somewhere nearby, not inside your cell, but not far off, maybe a few chambers down, or standing at the threshold of another room. The voice doesn't tremble, it doesn't beg, it intones, phrases you almost recognise, twisted by the damp and the dust. You feel a shift in the cell, a subtle change in how others breathe. Even the ones who've long stopped talking listen now. Not out of reverence, out of something colder, suspicion, weariness, memory. The voice belongs to a priest, or at least someone playing one. A figure sent down to remind you of God's presence, or perhaps to enjoy his absence. You lie there still, body pressed to stone, and wonder which is worse. You try to picture the man behind the voice, clean robes turned grey by torchlight, a cross around his neck, a face held just high enough to appear strong, but not so high as to challenge the ones who let him in. His words are smooth, but they don't comfort. They settle in your ears like dust, coating everything with the weight of ritual detached from meaning. Miserere nobis, he says. Domine exaudi orationem meam. Have mercy on us. Lord, hear our prayer, but here the words ring hollow. In this place, mercy is a fantasy, and prayer is just a sound people make before they die. You don't know whether the priest believes what he says, or if he's merely repeating it out of duty. Maybe it doesn't matter. In a dungeon, even God sounds tired. He goes on for a while. The phrases blend together. Some you understand, some you don't. Peccavimus, he says. We have sinned. Fiat voluntas tua. Let thy will be done. The words fall over your body like dirty water. You try not to absorb them. You close your eyes and turn your head, but the prayer slips under your skin anyway. It makes your ribs feel tight, like they're being pulled inward. Maybe it's the memory of churches, the scent of incense, the cold of polished stone underfoot, the flicker of candlelight, now twisted and soured by the smell of excrement and rot. The voice fades eventually, swallowed by distance and dampness. When it's gone, no one speaks. The silence that follows is not sacred, it's empty. You lie there with your face in the straw and wonder if God heard any of it, and if he did, why he didn't turn away. It comes without warning, not a memory exactly, but the outline of one. A flicker in the dark somewhere behind your eyes, just clear enough to make you stop breathing for a second. The sky. Not the idea of it, but the thing itself. You can almost see it. Impossibly wide, impossibly bright. Blue, not the pale, washed-out kind that sits above winter fields, but deep and open and endless. It floats above you like something from a dream, full of wind and colour and clouds that move without command. For a moment, it feels close, too close. Like if you reached up, your hand would pass through stone and rot and touch something clean, something dry, something living. Your chest tightens, not from grief, but from the sharpness of how far away it feels. You try to hold on to it. You dig into the image with your mind, clinging to the details. A breeze on your cheek, light pressing against your eyelids, the rustle of leaves caught in it, the quiet hum of bees drifting somewhere out of view. You try to remember what it felt like to lie on your back, spine against grass or soil, watching clouds change shape for no reason at all. The heat on your skin, the weightlessness of thought. But the more you try to shape it, the more it falls apart. The edges blur, the colours dim, the clouds become smoke, the breeze becomes damp air that smells like rust and piss. The sky slips through your grip like water, like ash, like something that maybe never existed at all. Your eyes are open now, but the darkness offers no comfort. It's not the absence of light, it's the presence of weight, of depth. You stare into it and try again, this time silently mouthing the word, sky. A small word, soft on the tongue, easy to forget. But here it feels sacred, dangerous even. You whisper it once, then again. It echoes in your own mind, a foreign word returned to you from another life. You want to see it again, even just for a second. But all you get is blackness, the scratch of straw under your cheek, and the quiet shuffle of someone else shifting nearby. The image is gone now, the feeling with it. You try to call it back, but your brain refuses. It's too soft, too clean. It doesn't belong here anymore, so you lie still mourning something that left you in pieces. You wonder how long it's been since you last looked up and saw more than stone. Days, weeks, months. Time folds in on itself here. But the sky, it didn't. It remained out there, unchanged, uncaring, impossibly distant. People walk under it now, unaware of how rare it is to feel it. They complain of the heat, or the rain, or the wind, never knowing what it means to miss it so completely. You envy them. Not their freedom, not their comfort, just their forgetfulness. The ability to take something so enormous for granted. Here in the dark, where the ceiling presses close and the air never moves, the memory of the sky becomes a wound. And like all wounds here, it doesn't heal. It just sinks deeper, until even the pain of it starts to fade. And that, more than anything, terrifies you. It begins as a tickle, light, harmless, almost gentle. You feel something brush the outside of your ankle, a soft pressure, then the tiny scrape of claws moving with quiet purpose. You freeze, not out of fear, but out of calculation. You felt this before. Sometimes they just pass over you, uninterested, searching for scraps or something easier. Sometimes they stop. You don't move, you don't breathe. The rat climbs slowly, its weight surprisingly distinct for something so small. It pauses near your shin, sniffs once, then moves again. You feel each step like a drumbeat in your nerves. Your body's alert now, tense in ways you can't control. But you don't swat it away. You don't dare. Sudden movement would be worse, might draw attention from the others, might wake something worse. So you lie there and wait. Then it bites. No warning, no hesitation. Just a sharp, focused puncture, just above your ankle. 2 teeth into skin already tender and inflamed. It's not the worst pain you felt here. Not even close. But it's different. It's real in a way the other pain isn't. Not punishment. Not interrogation. This is nature, survival, hunger. The rat pulls back for a moment, then bites again. A little higher this time, tearing slightly as it goes. You suck in your breath, sharp and fast, but you don't make a sound. You feel the blood run warm and thin down your leg, mixing with the sweat and filth already there. The rat lingers, testing the spot with its mouth, pressing its weight forward. You clench your jaw and stay still. This is your body now. A surface, a meal. You can't change that. The pain spreads in a tight, bright ring. Not deep, but insistent. The kind that awakens everything around it. You can feel your foot pulsing, your toes curling involuntarily. You wonder if it's a single rat or more. You listen for the sound of others moving nearby, their claws tapping quietly through straw and filth. You want to reach down, to push it away, to scream and thrash until it's gone. But you don't. Because you know what happens when you make noise in here, when you cry out. The guards might come, or worse, they might not. Someone else in the cell might decide your panic is an invitation, or a threat, so you stay silent. You endure. You count your breaths. You pray not to be saved, but just to remain unnoticed. Eventually, the rat leaves. You feel it withdraw, stepping off you, like you are just another piece of ground. The absence is strange, like tea, like heat vanishing after fire. You don't sit up. You don't examine the wound. You already know what it looks like. Ragged, dirty, red. You feel the blood dry against your skin, sticky and warm, soon to be cold. Infection will come, if it hasn't already. You lie back, breathing through your nose, and listen to the others sleep, or pretend to. Somewhere in the dark, another rat scurries. This one doesn't come close, not yet. You close your eyes and whisper something without sound, a name maybe, or nothing at all. And you wait, not for help, not for relief, just for whatever comes next. Because in here, it always does. You hear them before you see them. Boots scraping against stone, casual, slow, unhurried. Not the sound of duty or routine. The rhythm is too relaxed, the steps too uneven. Then comes the laughter. Sharp, clean, out of place. It echoes in the corridor like a crack of thunder on a windless night. You freeze without meaning to, heart seizing in your chest. Not from the fear that they've come for you. You'd recognise that sound by now. But from something worse. The knowledge that they haven't. That they're just passing through, looking for someone to amuse them. And this time, it's not your turn. You stay still anyway, because stillness makes you invisible. Or at least less interesting. The laughter grows louder as they stop outside a nearby cell. You hear the bolt rattle. A pause. Then something dull and heavy hits metal. Not a door, but a body thrown against it. More laughter. Someone groans, but it's not defiance. It's the sound of a person trying not to be noticed and failing. The guards say something, low and mocking. Words you can't make out, but tones you've heard before. They don't need reasons here. They don't need orders. They do this because they can. A joke, a kick, a shove. Maybe a bucket dumped over a prisoner's head. Maybe just words, cruel and casual, delivered like gifts. You hear one of them spit, then laugh harder. The others join in. The amusement is real, and that's what makes it so horrifying. They enjoy this. Someone in the cell next to yours yelps, not a scream, just a sharp intake of breath and pain. Then comes the unmistakable sound of skin meeting leather. A boot, a hand, you don't know which. The impact echoes once, twice. Then another burst of laughter. One of the guards claps, the sound echoing like applause. You want to cover your ears, but you don't. Any movement might carry, might shift the air in a way that makes them curious. You lie still, breathing slowly through your nose, trying to become the wall. This isn't your pain, but it lives in your stomach now, curling like smoke. Because this isn't punishment. It's spectacle. Sport. The guards aren't here to break someone. They're here to be entertained. And that means they'll be back. Eventually they leave, still laughing, still joking. You hear the last footsteps fade, the sound swallowed by stone. The silence that follows isn't relief. It's a vacuum, something pulled away that left a hole behind. You exhale, long and slow, not because you feel safe, but because it's the first breath you've dared to take. Someone nearby whimpers quietly, then goes silent. You don't know if they're injured or ashamed or just bracing for the next visit. No one checks, no one moves. You lie there in the dark and listen to nothing. The laughter still rings in your ears. And deep inside, beneath the cold and the hunger and the bruises, you feel the smallest flicker of understanding. There's no lowest point here, only the next one. And it always comes laughing. It begins in a whisper. Barely audible at first, just a broken breath shaped into words that never fully form. You strain to hear, thinking it might be another prayer, or the muttering of someone whose mind is already half gone. But this voice doesn't repeat names or chants. It doesn't ask for water or warmth. It asks for one thing, softly, again and again, an end. Not rescue, not release, just finality. A man, or what's left of one, curled in the darkness near the far wall, begins pleading not to be saved, but to be forgotten completely. The sound of it is raw, like something torn loose from the chest. His voice cracks with every few syllables. Not from drama, not to be heard, but because the body can't hold despair like that without shaking apart. He doesn't sob. He doesn't scream. He simply begs, and in low tones that vibrate with exhaustion and truth. He says he can't do another night. He says he can't take the smell, the cold, the hunger, the rats. He says he dreams of knives, of ropes, of a hand that will finally press too long against his throat. He doesn't ask anyone to do it. He just says he wants it done. And then he cries. Not like a child, not like someone fighting pain. He cries like someone who has accepted that he will never again be anything more than a wound. The sound reaches you in fragments, weaving between your own thoughts until you can't tell where his voice ends and your fear begins. You want to turn away, but there's nowhere to turn. So you lie there and listen. You understand him. That's the worst part. You don't pity him. You don't judge him. You just know what he means. You've thought it too, in the long stretches of dark, in the hours when your skin feels like it's crawling off your body, when your name no longer fits inside your mouth. You've imagined how it would feel to stop breathing, to disappear into the stone, into the rot, into the silence, to stop counting days, to stop feeling cold. The idea used to terrify you. Now it feels soft, like something you could hold in your palm without flinching. You don't say it out loud, not yet, but the thought is there, a seed growing roots. No one responds to the man's pleas. Not the guards, not the other prisoners. No one tells him to be quiet. No one comforts him. He's not the first to say those words. He won't be the last. Eventually, his voice fades, swallowed by his own fatigue or the dark itself. You lie there, wide-eyed in the blackness, listening to the rhythm of your breath and wondering if it's louder than his was. You wonder how many more voices will follow, how many already have, and how long until the voice you hear next, the one asking to leave this place for good, is yours. The cuffs have been there so long that your skin has grown around them. Not in the literal sense, not yet, but in feeling. They don't hurt in the way they once did. At first they chafed, then they burned, then they bled. Now they just exist, always present, always pressing, always carving the same slow, shallow channels into your wrists. The metal is cold when it wants to be, hot when your skin is already inflamed. Each shift of your arms causes the edge to bite a little deeper. The flesh there is swollen and raw, damp from sweat, and whatever moisture seeps from the stone around you. But you don't wince anymore. The sensation has passed through pain and into something worse, acceptance. Sometimes you look down, or try to, and see the crusted blood, the cracked skin, the greyish edges where your own body seems to have given up on healing. You rub your wrist against the stone just to feel something. Not relief, not comfort, just proof. The iron doesn't rattle anymore. It's grown too familiar. The chain only moves when you move, and even then only to remind you of its limits. You've learned to measure your reach by its length, how far you can stretch to shift your legs, to touch the wall, to move away from someone else's foot. And yet the metal still cuts a little more each day, quietly and without ceremony. like it's trying to hollow you out inch by inch, not to kill you, just to make you smaller. The worst part isn't the wounds themselves, it's the stillness inside them. They should burn, they should scream when touched, but they don't. The nerves have gone quiet, dulled by repetition, by exposure, by the long, slow erosion of meaning. You press your hand to the sore spot sometimes, out of habit, expecting a jolt. Nothing. Just warmth, maybe. A pulse. You think you can still feel your blood pushing through, but it doesn't seem interested in helping. You wonder what the inside of your wrist looks like now. You wonder if the bone has felt the edge yet, if the iron knows how to find it. The idea doesn't scare you. You imagine it like water carving stone. Slow, certain, patient. The chain has time, more than you do, and so you lie there, wrapped in your own silence, the metal humming softly against your skin. It has become part of you, in the way a scar is part of you, or a limp, or a memory you can't shake. The people who put it there aren't thinking of you now. They've long since stopped, but the chain remembers. It works even when they sleep, even when they forget you exist. Its weight tells you when to wake, when to shift, when to stop trying, and you obey, not because you've been trained to, but because there is nothing else, no air beyond the reach of the cuff, no comfort beyond the length of its rusted leash, just flesh, just steel, and the space in between, slowly vanishing. It creeps in slowly, without wind or warning, the kind of cold that doesn't announce itself, just arrives and stays. At first it's the floor, the stone beneath you, always damp, now feels like ice held against your skin. Your back stiffens, not from pain, but from chill, a raw numbness that spreads outward from where your bones press against the ground. The moisture in the air thickens. You can feel it in your breath, heavy and wet, but now touched with something sharper. It crawls into your clothes, if anything still qualifies as clothes, into your sleeves, into the creases of your elbows and knees, into the spaces between your fingers. The cold doesn't stab. It seeps, quiet, patient, methodical. You begin to shiver. Not all at once, but in small waves. Your teeth don't chatter, not yet, but your legs twitch. Your arms tighten against your chest, though it brings no warmth. You curl tighter, wrapping yourself into your own frame, trying to conserve what little heat your body still produces. But it escapes too quickly. You've lost weight, lost insulation. Your skin feels thin. Your blood feels slow. Every breath you take leaves your lips colder, your throat drier. You breathe through your nose, but even that carries the chill deeper. There is no warmth here, no corner to retreat into, no place untouched by the stone that leaks the cold, like a wound leaks pus. You try to think of sunlit places. Your body doesn't believe in them anymore. The others feel it too. You can hear it in the sounds they make, the shift of limbs, the tighter coughs, the new silence between movements. No one talks when it gets this cold. No one begs. No one sings. Cold strips things away. Noise, pride, memory. It reduces you to breath and bone. You hear someone moan softly, then shuffle closer to another body, not for affection, but for survival. The smell is worse now, with bodies packed tighter, breath trapped in close pockets of air. But no one pulls away. The cold is stronger than the stink. You feel someone's foot graze your leg, and you don't move. It's not contact you fear now. It's the space that contact prevents. Space means exposure, and exposure means pain of another kind. Time stretches. There's no warmth coming, no torchlight, no change in the air. You feel the damp sinking deeper into your joints, your spine curling not from fatigue, but from instinct. A fetal shape, preserved against the dark. You hold your hands under your ribs, trying to warm your fingers, but they've gone stiff. You can't tell if they're still bruised, or if it's just the cold sealing you up from the inside. You close your eyes, but even behind your lids, everything feels frostbitten. You tremble now, not with emotion, but with inevitability. The kind of shaking that has no root in fear, only in biology. Your body can't help it anymore. You're not afraid. You're not even awake in the way that matters. You're just cold, and your body, small and silent, has started to forget how to be anything else. It starts with footsteps, not the slow shuffle of a prisoner, but the heavier, sharper cadence of boots on stone. Too even, too controlled to belong to anyone shackled. You know that rhythm. Everyone in the cell does. You feel the air shift as heads rise, breath catches, bodies tense. Then comes the clank of a key, the scrape of metal, and a voice outside a neighbouring door. No names, just the sound of a bolt thrown open, a door groaning inwards, and the moment of silence that follows. Then a cry, short, startled, desperate. Someone doesn't want to go. Someone is trying to hold on to the ground, to the walls, to anything. It doesn't matter. You hear the scuffle, a dull thud. Then more dragging. The cry turns into a plea, broken and messy. Words tumble out too quickly to understand, but the tone is clear. Begging, promises, panic. You've heard it before. You've spoken it before. But it always ends the same way. The boots continue. The struggling fades. The voice cracks, then disappears completely. The silence afterward is somehow louder than the noise. The door slams shut behind them with that same final certainty. And then the corridor is still again. The echoes linger for a few seconds longer, but you already know what they mean. That person isn't coming back. Maybe they'll be returned in pieces. Maybe not at all. You try to picture their face. You can't. You're not even sure if you ever saw it. In the dark, everyone is just a voice and a weight. You expect to feel relief, that it wasn't you this time, that the boots didn't stop at your cell. But what creeps in instead is something quieter and more dangerous. Envy. Not of their pain. You've had enough of that. But of their end. Whatever's waiting beyond that hallway, whatever room or rack or silence, it's different. It's movement. It's change. It might even be final. And that, in this place, begins to sound like mercy. You lie still in the cold and the rot and the dark, listening to nothing, and wonder if you'll ever scream that loud again. If you'll be dragged or if you'll be forgotten. You imagine the moment when your door opens, and your legs fail, and the guards don't speak, and you don't fight. Around you the others settle again. A few cough. Someone shifts closer to the wall. No one speaks of what just happened. There's nothing to say. It's not news, it's not unusual. It's just the cycle continuing. You press your cheek to the stone and breathe through your mouth, trying not to taste the air. You think of the man's voice, how quickly it rose, how quickly it vanished. You envy how loud he was. You envy how fast he left. In this place, where nothing changes, even violence becomes a kind of freedom. And as the dark closes back in around you, full and thick and familiar, you find yourself waiting. Not for salvation, just for the sound of boots, and for them to stop at your door next. At some point, the waiting slips away. You don't notice when it happens. There's no grand moment, no snap of thought or clarity. It just fades, like warmth, like memory, like colour in the dark. You stop expecting footsteps. You stop counting time between buckets. You stop wondering if the door will open, or if someone will scream, or if someone will touch you, feed you, kill you. It doesn't feel like surrender. It doesn't feel like anything. The hunger is still there, the pain, the cold, but they no longer stretch into the future. They exist only in the moment, a throb, a shiver, a pulse of ache that passes without comment. You lie there, eyes open or shut, and simply let the dark hold you. You no longer dream of food. Even the memory of taste has lost its shape. Bread, meat, salt, those are just words now, not sensations. Your stomach still cramps sometimes, but your mind doesn't rise to meet it. The body suffers, but you don't wait for it to stop. You've let go of the idea that relief might come. You feel the blood in your mouth from where you bit your cheek earlier, but it doesn't taste like anything. You don't spit it out. You don't care. Even the thought of water no longer stirs your throat. You'll drink if it's offered. If it's not, you won't ask. You're not resigned. You're just emptied out. A container left on its side. Whatever was inside, long since poured away. You stop looking toward the door. You used to glance at it when footsteps passed, when voices echoed, when the bolt shifted, part of you always preparing, always reacting, always measuring the world by what it might do to you next. That reflex is gone now. The door can stay closed, it can swing open, it can be a wall or a gate or a tomb. It means nothing. You don't tense when others are taken, you don't flinch when they return, you don't wonder what tomorrow will bring, because tomorrow isn't the shape anymore. There's just this hour, this breath, this stone beneath your ribs, this chain curled loosely at your side. You've stopped hoping, you've stopped fearing, not because you've learned something, just because you're tired of reaching for anything that doesn't reach back, and yet, somehow, you're still here. Not alive in the full sense, but present, breathing, blinking, aware of yourself, but in the smallest way possible, the way a stone is aware of the dirt around it. You don't know how many others in the cell feel the same. You don't ask, you don't speak. You've stopped waiting, and in that stillness, you've become part of the place itself. A fixture, a soundless echo, a body without want. And strangely, there's peace in that. A cruel peace, cold and blank and final, but peace all the same. You lie still, not because you're hiding, not because you're afraid, but because there is nothing left to wait for, and still, for now, you remain. The dark grows heavier. It doesn't fall like night used to. No gradual dimming, no soft coolness, no sense of ending. It just thickens, like smoke or mud, settling into your chest, your eyes, your skull. There's no clock to mark the hour, no shift in light, no hush from the world above, but you feel it. A weight pressing deeper, more absolute. The cold grows stiller. The air, already stale, begins to taste of breath that's been breathed too many times. You lie flat, bones to stone, and you can tell it's what passes for night in this place, not because anything changes, but because everything sharpens. Every sound, every smell, every thought you've been pushing down. In the dark they rise, you close your eyes, but it doesn't help. Darkness now lives inside your head. Someone hasn't made a sound in hours. You notice it too late. You try to remember who it was, Marie, the one who always coughed at the same rhythm, or muttered numbers, or dragged their feet when shifting in sleep. The absence is quiet, but sharp. The kind of quiet that replaces something. It doesn't alarm you. It doesn't move you to check. It simply settles into the room like another breath gone still. A few feet away, someone else begins to hum. At first it's soft, tuneless, just vibration. Then it becomes louder, then choppier, then breaks into laughter. Not joyful, not mocking, just too loud, too sudden. You hear them giggle to themselves, then whisper something to no one. It sounds like a secret being passed to the wall. You pull yourself inward, not because you fear the noise, but because it's too familiar. The mind slips at night. There's something about this version of silence that unspools the threads. You've felt it, the way thought bends under the pressure of stillness. You remember the man who begged for death, how his voice frayed like cloth. You remember your own name slipping loose from your tongue. You remember seeing the sky behind your eyes, then losing it completely. Now someone near you whispers, in a rhythm you don't recognize. Another begins to sob, not from pain, but from some old grief that's only found room now to be heard. A distant clink of metal breaks the rhythm. Then nothing again. No one responds. Madness doesn't arrive all at once. It blooms slowly, like rot in a sealed room. You stare into the dark and wonder how much of yourself is still intact. You wonder if you've begun to speak without knowing, if your lips move when no one listens, if your thoughts still belong to you or to the dungeon. The walls feel closer now. The cold isn't on your skin, it's in your bones. You try to measure your breath, to hold to some rhythm that still feels real, but even your own body betrays you, shaking with chills, twitching with dreams you never chose. The laughter returned, a wheezing cackle that turns to coughing, then vanishes. You don't look, you don't ask. This is what night is now. Not sleep, not rest, just deeper dark, thicker air, and the slow unravelling of minds left too long in silence. Your eyes are open, but nothing reaches them anymore. The dark isn't just around you, it's inside now, behind the eyes, behind the ribs, pressing gently on the edges of thought. You blink once, maybe twice, and realise you're no longer sure if it's your body doing the blinking or just a habit left behind by whatever part of you still moves. Your limbs are heavy, slack, not quite numb, but far from responsive. You feel the cold of the stone beneath you, the damp that never dries, the sharp edge of a chain lying across your ankle, like a sleeping snake. You don't shift to get comfortable. There's no comfort. You simply stop noticing it. Your breath slows without instruction. Your eyes close again, or maybe they were never open. The difference has ceased to matter. Thought becomes soft, loose, a slow drift. You begin to forget where you are, not in the hopeful sense of escape, but in the dull erosion of certainty. The ceiling could be above you or a mile away. Your body might be curled in the same place it was all day, or stretched in some new shape you don't remember choosing. Your name is gone. The shape of it, the sound, the syllables, all of it dissolved in the air. You try to recall what you were thinking just a moment ago, but the thought slides away like wet rope. Nothing holds, nothing stays. You feel your breath grow shallower, and for a moment you wonder if this is sleep, or something else. You aren't afraid. There's no space for fear, only distance. Your ears catch something, a breath that isn't yours, a soundless twitch from the far side of the cell, maybe even your own heartbeat, but it's faint, and even as you notice it, it fades. The boundary between you and the rest of this place has blurred. You're no longer waiting, no longer watching, no longer bracing for what comes next. The pain in your wrists, the hunger in your gut, the itch behind your knee, all still there, but distant, muffled, as if happening in a room down the hall. You let your jaw slacken, your fingers curl loosely inward, your legs settle where they are. Whether this is sleep or unconsciousness or the first step into death, you don't care. The silence welcomes it. The stone welcomes it. You welcome it. There is no last thought, no final image, no memory of light or warmth or sky, just a slow falling inward. No sound of doors, no tug of hands, no scream from a cell too close. You feel yourself leave. Or maybe you just feel yourself stop holding on. You vanish into the same dark that's been waiting for you all day. And if you wake again, it will be into the same air, the same stone, the same hunger. If you don't, there will be no marker, no shift, no name to be whispered in absence, just one more shape gone quiet. And tomorrow, if there is one, will not ask where you went. It never does. You made it to the end. That in itself is something quiet and rare. These stories don't offer comfort, not in the usual ways. They don't promise escape or even understanding. Just presence, just stillness. And maybe that's enough. If your mind feels heavy now, or far away, let it drift. There's no need to bring it back too quickly. Let the quiet carry you a little longer. You're safe. You're here. And for now, that's all.